A week after Election Day, Doubthat wrote a short Twitter thread defending the Republican Party's refusal to challenge Pumpkin Tits' deranged lies about the election. Republicans aren't coddling the squatter, he argued. A minority are cynically adopting his arguments. Most are trying to figure out how to do the right thing without ratifying his stab in the back narrative among voters who trust him more than them. And this was just about a month ago. So how is the refusing to challenge but definitely not coddling strategy working out for the Republicans? A rather grim prognosis can be found in all places Dowhead's latest column. Our columnist is surprised with the sheer scale of the belief among conservatards that the election was really stolen, which it wasn't, measured not just in polling data but in conversations and arguments online and in person with people I would not have expected to embrace it. Duhat's impression seems to be universal. The Washington Post's Dave Weigel reports from Georgia that not a single pumpkin tit supporter said Biden would take office on January 20th, but technically Biden would. He will take office on January 20th, and notes that every reporter he's talked to has found the same thing. It's as if the Republican Party's decision to humor Pumpkin Tits' lies has somehow led to a situation where many Republican voters believed them, and who could have predicted this? Duhat, who is normally an outstanding columnist, is himself unsparing both toward Pumpkin Tits' campaign of defamation and the various coup-like efforts springing from them. His case for appeasement rested on the anti-Pumpkin Tits grounds that Republicans needed to win over Pumpkin Tits fans who subscribed to his lies in order to ease him out of the party's leadership. And if you hate and fear Pumpkin Tits, he argued, you should want his political party, which shows absolutely no signs of being burned to the ground, to figure out how to persuade its own voters that the orange fuck weasel is not a glorious murderer who deserves a glorious resurrection 4 years hence. And how is that project going? Well, so far the orange fuck weasel's glorious martyrdom narrative is hardening rapidly into party doctrine. Meanwhile, potential 2024 candidates are beginning to offer Pumpkin Tits their preemptive endorsements. If he were to run in 2024, he would not get my endorsement, and he would not get my respect for it. I think he would be the nominee. I don't think he would, and I would not. And Senator Hawley said he would support him doing that. I wouldn't. If he runs again, I think basically Marco Rubio says that he thinks that Pumpkin Tits would be the favorite again, and that he would win. Technically, he's not the favorite. He never was, and he should not win again. While predicting primary races in advance is tricky, I will venture that it's going to be difficult to deny Pumpkin Tits the nomination if all the other candidates endorse him in advance and compete with each other for his praise and support. The saner figures on the right face a predicament that deserves real sympathy. They are hardly crazy to fear that a firm break with Pumpkin Tits would simply leave him controlling the larger share of the party. Conservative media has already seen this happen. As punishment for accurately reporting the election's outcome, Faux News has lost a significant chunk of its viewership to another fake news site, Newsmax. National Review has published a few columns debunking Pumpkin Tits' more comic election lies, and is now watching the likes of Ben Shapiro, who's another fucking retard, try to poach more subscribers by insisting the conservative decisions about voter fraud must be put to rest. If you're committed to staying with the Republican Party, and if you believe, say, that abortion is murder and essentially nothing the Republican Party does, short of perhaps committing literal genocide, would make you leave, then you're going to reason your way into something that somehow making sense of the party's logic. And Duhat's column tries to contextualize Pumpkin Tits' attempted auto-gulple by likening it to some of the nuttier views floating around the Democrats, like the weird theory in 2004 that Ohio's voting machine stole the election for George W. Bush to get him a second term. It's true that the Republican Party does not have a complete monopoly on conspiracy theories, but at the moment, barely 1/10 of the Republicans in Congress have accepted the election result. The secretaries of state, the ones in Georgia and Michigan, have been threatened and seen their homes picketed by angry crowds, the latter conspicuously armed. Michigan's government has already foiled another armed plot earlier this year pertaining to a complete different right-wing conspiracy theory, and some prominent former military officers, including Pumpkin Tits' first national security advisor, have called Pumpkin Tits to impose martial law. The Republicans have been following the strategy of appealing to the Orange Fuck Weasel supporters without alienating the orange anus, since the orange anus appeared on the political landscape, and that's why the Republican leadership refused to directly disavow the orange fuckweasel's birther lies, and why Mitt Romney publicly flattered the orange fuckweasel and solicited his endorsement in 2012. And they've been repeating or ignoring his lies ever since about his allegations of vote fraud in 2016, the conclusions of the Russian investigation, his scheme to leverage Ukraine, and so on and so on. It hasn't worked at all. Indeed, the mere fact that intelligent conservators even have to suggest it indicates the hopelessness of the task. Once you've conceded that your party's base is enthralled to a massive liar and that pointing out his lies will alienate them, your decent options have disappeared. You can wish away reality by pointing to some crazy ideas that have circulated on the Democrat side, but nobody ever suggested the Democratic Party leaders can't afford to denounce crazy ideas because they would lose the party by doing so. In 2008, was anybody advising Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton to leave the open possibility that George W. Bush engineered 9/11 attacks or manufactured 60,000 fake votes in Ohio, unless they surrendered the nomination to a demagogue who would indulge those beliefs? And Duhat argues correctly that the anti-pumpkin titters' desire to defeat pumpkin tits is so strong that the party is forced into self-reckoning did not work in 2020. Certainly, on the evidence of 2020, the Republican Party isn't going anywhere, let alone about to be burned to the ground, as some anti-Trumpers had hoped. He's right about that, though. The problem is that if this party regains power, it might well burn the country to the ground, so the primary task is to prevent that from happening until the Republican Party can one day be made safe for democracy. That would never happen. But if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, Ryan Van Wyck, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And thanks for listening.